What is up, Scrub fam? I am here with another video. This is going to be another Meta Talks video, especially because we had some important news that dropped over this week. SS3 is now banned. Before I get into this video, let me give a shout out to my sponsor, Bearded Collectibles, Alex Pastrana, best shop owner on the planet. I actually just received my product today, cracked a bunch of boxes, put together a list in paper finally. It felt amazing because I've been testing it online a lot. And in general, I'm really excited to talk about the new format and how we move forward. And I got a bunch of decks to kind of just dump today for you guys. Just post SS3, what the world is going to look like after this weekend and as we move forward into Atlanta and the coming weeks. But in general, Bearded Collectibles, best sponsor, best shop owner on the planet. So, SS3 is banned, which is incredible, right? It opens up the format. I know there's a lot of people saying, like, oh, it doesn't open up that much, or these leaders take prominence, but, like, no, you don't understand. It really does, because a lot of the decks that wanted to be viable couldn't be viable because of the fact that they had to compete with a leader that started ahead on energy, was able to play impactful 4s, 5s, and 6s before them, and then the only way to combat SS3 at the time is really just to go wide, and there's not too many decks at the time that could go wide. World Martial Arts Tournament did provide decks that could do that, and decks that could combat SS3, but the thing is just SS3 is so ridiculously consistent, and the leader can just play so many different archetypes and is so versatile that inevitably it needed to be removed from the game, and that's what Bandai decided. They decided to do a temporary ban, which I'm really excited about. So anyway, enough about that. I'm not going to read the announcement. I've seen a lot of videos about people just reading the announcement, and in general, I think it is going to have a pretty heavy impact on the metagame, but I am going to dive into decks that I think immediately are going to be impactful on the format itself, something that you can start to see at your tournaments and kind of have to prepare for. And these are just a bunch of decks that I've been testing a lot recently, and then these are the list that so far. Not all of them are 100% fleshed out, but they're pretty darn near close. So let's start with the one that's obvious and on everybody's mind at the time, droids. Androids is still one of the best strategies you could possibly use in the game. They're very, very powerful. They have a deck that's able to put a lot of pressure on the opponent, but at the same time be able to take away the advantages that it may give the opponent throughout the course of the game by, attacking, swinging, giving them cards through the use of Cell Chain. Cell Chain is still one of the most, if not the most powerful thing you can do in this game, with the ability of aggro decks slowing down by a full turn at least, just due to the restriction of Flute. That gives androids plenty of time to deploy their Cell Chain to put those games back into reach. So in general, my list is pretty simple here. You'll notice a few things. Number one, I run 3 Destined Grillins, 3 full power energies, and 2 speed surprise attacks as my defensive suite. 3 full power energy over 2 speed surprise attacks. The main reason why is because the aggro decks are more reliant on 1-drops than they are 2-drops. Yes, killing a Goten is impactful, but you really only need the first speedy surprise attack. I found that if you play 2 speedy surprise attacks per game, that's usually a lot of cards that you're pitching out of your hand to kind of defend yourself, when you really would just rather have the cards in hand on the opposing turn for you to be able to have your Cell Chain pieces. Next thing you'll notice, like I said, the 3 Destined Grillins, the 4th copy is really just not needed in the main deck now. I do side the 4th copy of Full Power Energy, Destined Krillin, and the 3rd copy of Speed Surprise Attack for the aggro matchup if you need to get better, but in Game 1, this configuration works fine. We're not running the 1-drop Dr. Gero. Instead, we're opting to use that slot on Newfound Power Son Gohan. You could take some of the numbers out of the androids themselves of 17, 18 for extra copies of Dr. Gero, which could help you find your super combo more and your androids in general, but I really have been liking the list without Gero. I feel like Newfound Power Son Gohan is incredibly impactful to help you awaken, so I've been liking that. The Android splits, I run 3, 6, 8 Android 17s, and I run 7 Android 18s. I feel like that this is the appropriate number since you're going to be having to use your 17 more often than not, especially not only deploying them, but at the same time using them for your Cell Chain to be able to get your pieces. So I'm doing 8-7 split. My 17s, I'm doing 3 Energy Guard 17, 3 Limitless Energy Android 17, and 2 Dreadful Duo. And then my 18s, I'm doing 4 Dreadful Duo, 3 Twin Sister. Twin Sister is overperformed, so you could potentially switch the ratios of 4 and 3 the opposite way, but I think having the crit attacker is very important. We're running just 4, 4, 4 of the Cell Chain. We're running 1 Vial Replication Cell. I feel like that you can do this on turns where your opponent is kind of just trying to play around Cell Chain too much, and so you can Vial Replication instead and kind of punish them for that. The other thing that you'll notice about this deck is different is I run 2 Hidden Awakening Kales as opposed to the combo killer Ani Laza that a lot of people like to run. Main reason why is because there's a lot of decks that spam 1-drops and smaller battle cards, so Hidden Awakening Kale kind of takes all those in one sweep and plays into the strategy of running critical and can help refill your hands in certain turns where you need them. So this deck has been very powerful so far in testing, really enjoying it. And then of course Forward Argentation Toa. When you're playing this deck, the way that I like to play the deck is I really just play for inevitability. You have the most powerful interaction in the game at your disposal, so you don't need to do anything crazy. Pressure your opponent, force them to take their life. You know, if they're playing around your cell chain, then you can start deploying androids and then just start pressuring them with your androids, and then you then follow up with the cell chain when you're going to win the game, which is how you want to play it a lot of the time. If your opponent is allowing you to just attack them, pressure them, and they're just taking life and then they awaken for you, then you can just deploy the cell chain on turn 3 like you would normally. But other than that, I really like to play this deck more conservatively, aside from just being aggressive with my leader and then battle cards in the early turns to force them to awaken. But there's not a lot of pressure on me to act. The pressure is all on the opponent, and so you should kind of play that way. But in general, this deck is very strong, and it's been doing incredibly well in testing. Next, we have Hirudegarn. This is like a Hirudegarn, more so a mid-range deck. I think that this is going to be, if maybe the best, if not the second best deck in the format, just the way that everything's shaking up. Major reason why is because Hirudegarn's a leader that can protect his life better than anyone because of access to, you know, Sensu Bean, Flame Cannon, Raging Spirit, Unbreakable, best super combo in the game. The leader just has tons of versatility and just the untap 2, and then once you're awakened, you just have the best awakened ability. So essentially the strategy of this deck is, game goes long, you want to get to 4 energy. When you get to 4 energy, you then deploy your chain attack Zeno, you then awaken, and then you start pressuring the opponent with your leader ability and Phantom Flame Cannon, and then you'll inevitably close the game out. As of right now, some key things you'll notice is the 7 1-drops, which I've always been a huge fan of. I originally was playing Digging Deep in the deck, but I didn't really like it that much, so I opted for 3 Saiyan Kabbas instead in that spot, so I can just continue to be aggressive. And Saiyan Kabba can win a lot of games on his own, especially in the later stages. 3 Hidden Power E Supreme Kai instead of Furthering Instruction Champa. You can just cast it if you ever need to. 3 Burst Attacks on Gohan. This card is just great. If you're ever defending your life total and your hand gets low enough, you can really activate this ability and have no issues. 4 Chain Attack Trunk. 3 for Seeing Hit. I don't play 4 for Seeing Hit in this deck because it's a Hirudegarn. You're going to see multiple copies because of the amount of cards you're going to draw. We have 3 Zenos, standard, and then I have a 1-1-1 split for my Overwhelm cards, 1 Mass Saiyan, 1 Dimensional Banisher Fu, and 1 Scientist Fu. You can make this 2-1 or all 3 of 1 if you'd like, but as of right now I like having the diversity because each one kind of has its own merit in different matchups. But overall, this deck is very strong. It's probably, like I said, one of, if not the best deck in the format as we move forward because the way it's able to play the game puts a lot of pressure on the opponent to have to act, and then the inevitability of Chain Attack Trunks into Zeno with your leader is incredible. And this deck has a really good matchup, not a really good matchup, I'd say slightly favorable matchup against droids. So I think Hirudegarn is one of the best decks. What you'll notice, I don't play any Hirudegarn the Wanderers or Minosha because I use every single slot in this deck, and I value Phantom Flame Cannon so much. I think this card is just incredibly strong right now just due to how much the format has slowed down. And so you can just play this deck defensively. Phantom Flame Cannon just really messes up your opponent's turn. And then once you're trying to go for game, if you have a Phantom Flame Cannon plus your leader ability and then a Hidden Power E Supreme Kai, you're going to close that game out relatively easily. Next deck to go over is bringing it back, Victory Strike. This deck is very good right now. The reason why it's very good is because since the format has slowed down, you have access to multiple turns, and if you can live long enough, you can drag the game out. And with Cell Chain being a very popular deck, Universe 7 Frieza always gets better, and then you're just going to try and win the game at Victory Strike. I really like Victory Strike against a lot of the decks right now because a lot of decks are trying to go longer. They need to, and so, you know, if you assemble all the pieces and you can Victory Strike them, you'll just win the game. So I think Victory Strike does come back. A couple things that you'll notice is I'm running 3 at all cost Vegeta in the main deck. That also combos really well with the battering lasers that you main too. In general, that allows you to close out the game or give you an alternative. Some things that are different, I'm taking from the Frieza list that I ran at Atlantic City before. Even though it didn't have Victory Strike, it ran the Boo package. I really like doing 2 Shigesh to 3 Explosive Spirits on Goku. I just like having the instant speed removal at your disposal in game 1, you know, and a lot of times they don't expect it out of the Universe 7 Frieza deck, so you're going to be able to get them in game 1 relatively easily, and then you can still just hard cast Explosive Spirits on Goku a lot of the time. So I really like the 2-3 split here. We're running a 3-2 split with our 5-drop Gokus. Main reason why is because the Ultimate Form Son Goku, he does have Universe 7 trait, which is huge, and then you can play him for 4 energy if your life total is low enough, so that'll allow you to still pull off the chain if you have enough energy at that time. So I really like having that, and it's a source of removal additionally to your Explosive Spirit and the Massey and the Mysterious Warrior. One thing that you'll see is that I do run 3 Cold-Hearted Strike, 2 Frieza Emperor, Universe 7. You still want those cards in the deck. They're very powerful for you, so I really like running them here. But in general, I do think that Universe 7 Frieza is very strong right now because of the passive ability to draw cards, and then having the win condition of Victory Strike, and then just being able to be resilient to Cell Chain due to objection and stuff like that in your early turns, and then the leader being able to pitch on the front side, awaken, untap 2, pitch on the second side, and then catch back up. And then, of course, you can side in Scientist food for that matchup, too, if you need to. But in general, I think that Universe 7 Frieza is really well positioned right now. Next deck is Announcer. So this is very similar to the deck profile that I just posted. I think Announcer is very strong. It has the ability to really grind out a lot of games against any, whether if they're aggressive decks or mid-range decks. It just has the ability to just, turn the screws to them. I really do like Supreme Showdown as the finisher still. And then the one thing that I changed from the last video to this video is -1 Awkward Situation Trunks for the 4th Trading Blows on Goku because you need the 1-drops. In general, this deck has been, like I said, performing really, really well. So I like Announcer. I think it has just a handful of bad matchups. I think Cell Chain is pretty bad, but it's winnable in Game 1. You can play around Cell Chain relatively easily, and then of course in Game 2 you side in your objections and you feel a lot better about that matchup as you move forward because you're able to manage your hand size against them and then make the game go long enough, and even accelerate yourself faster so you can get down to your 5 drops and start winning the game. And then of course you have the strategies of Universe 7 in the sideboard to be able to protect them for a full turn cycle so you can actually go off and kill the opponent on the following turn if you need to. But General Announcer, very, very strong deck. Next, World Martial Arts Green Goku. This deck is, I've been testing it for a long time. It started off as just a really, really fun project, just something that I really enjoyed playing because the deck just was so grindy, like mid-rangey. And then as I started testing more and more, and then as I started just switching out a lot of the different cards, I found some really powerful interactions. Of course, you guys know Trading Blow Son Goku is very strong. I really like the different removal options that this deck offers to me. I like having 3 double impact Krillin, 2 Son Goten, Family of Justice, 2 Dimensional Banisher Fu. I deal with a lot of the opponent's threats. But really the crux of the deck or the hallmark of the deck is the fact that you have Tien Shinhan trading moves and then Mercenary Tao trading moves. All you have to do is stick 1 Tien, and Tien does have barrier. And then once you stick a Tien, you then play a Mercenary Tao the following turn. Your opponent then has to discard 3 cards. Very good. Am I right? So you have that interaction in the deck, and then you also have Destined Conclusion Hero and Destined Conclusion Piccolo Jr. Same interaction happens if you have Hero down, and then you play Piccolo Jr., your opponent then has to discard 3 cards. So it's very strong. You also get the really good 1-drops, so 4 Announcer Ever Curious, 4 Announcer Play-by-Play Pro, your Trading Blows, as I stated before, your Negates, you're in full power energy, and your 4 Play-by-Play Pros, 3 Feet Kamehameha with 2 Hidden Power E Supreme Kai to help you close out the game once your opponent's hand size is low enough, 3 Dark Temptation Toa. This card just goes, it's peanut butter chocolate with the awakened side of the leader, puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. The 2-dimensional Banisher Fu because you're going to be able to get a lot of cards in your discard pile because of the amount of 1-drops you'll play on the board. And then 2 Hone Moves Yamcha. This card is just going to help you self-awaken if you need it, and in general just provides extra versatility with the ability to make your opponent discard cards. So this deck is also very strong. A lot of people were sleeping on the Green Goku leader, but you should not. He's very, very good. And then the last deck I'll go over, it's a callback to a deck that you guys are very familiar with, but this deck is actually pretty insane. It's Oob using the Storm or 1-2 swap or whatever you want to call it engine. You basically get the best of all worlds, right? So you get to play the Bardock Goten engine with 4 Unyieldings, 4 Senzu Beans, but at the same time, you also get to play Test of Shrink, Oob, and Son Goku with this leader. Oob is also an untapped 2 leader, and one thing that's very valuable is Oob's backside having the Activate main to choose 1 card from your life, add it to your hand, and then be able to pop back one of your opponent's cards in hand, so that helps you clear the blocker out of the way if you need to, and then you get to finish the game with, of course, Mirror Creator Absorbed or Vegeta at all costs if the game goes long enough. You still play your 1 Singleton Flute. You play 2 Mafubas in the main to counteract Vegetos because that's the one card that kind of always gives the Storm deck problems. You have 2 Planet Vegetas to help you search for whatever you need, whether it's a Test of Shrinks on Goku, your Super Combo Unyielding, or Scrambling Assaults on Goten, or at all cost. Basically, as you see here, you have everything at your disposal with this deck itself. 2 Hidden Power E Supreme Kais for your further instruction choppas to close out the game. You have your Super Combos, and then in general, you have your Storm package. And this deck is very strong in testing. It's been doing work. It can win games on turn 3 because if you think about the way the turns go, right, if you play the game a little bit more conservatively, and since the format's slowed down and you're not playing against like a mirror or blue-yellow mirror, you basically can turn 1, turn 1 on the play a Bardock, swap into a Goten, pass turn. Turn 2, really start putting pressure on the opponent, and then turn 3, put down your second blue energy, and then you still continue to do what you need to do. Bean, get 3 energy untapped, and then play your Test of Strength on Goku, Test of Strength Oob. Now you have a really wide board. You've just cleared your opponent's threats out of the way. Then you awaken your leader, untap 2, and then you continue to go at it. So whether that's closing the game out with the Mirror Creator Absorbed, plus FTC, plus Battering, whatever. But in general, you can see that this deck is incredibly strong. It's going to be a player, and I think that Oob really, like, he provides a lot to this deck that it didn't have before. But just being able to play the World Martial Arts Tournament cards like Test Strength Son Goku, Test Strength Oob, the Untap 2, and then the fact that on the backside, being able to make your push one of your opponent's battle cards back to hand, it's very, very strong. It does exactly what this deck kind of was missing, especially since you don't have Flute for that pseudo removal. You only have the one copy. It's just a very, very powerful deck, and it's a very valuable tool to have. But in general, this is a small peek at the format. There's tons more. I'm going to be doing more testing with Machine Mutant Leaders as we go forward. I'm also going to be doing testing with, of course, Pan. We have, new Hercule Leader, which looks really interesting. Jackie Chun is still awesome. Mira Chain / Cell Chain in the same deck. Like, the format's just super expansive. Like, there's so many things that you can do now. It's just so diverse, and there's so many different decks that you can play. But in general, I hope you guys enjoyed this peek at the new format and the little bit of a deck dump that I did. But in general, thank you guys so much for all your support. And one last thing, I have to announce the winner of our Patreon giveaway for the month of September, which is a whole entire box of the World Martial Arts Tournament set. And the winner of said box is indeed Brandon Mansour. Brandon Mansour, one of my Patreons, you have indeed won the box of World Martial Arts Tournament. I will be mailing that out to you ASAP. So you will go ahead and get a free box for World Martial Arts Tournament. Thank you so much for being a subscriber on the Patreon, and I appreciate all the support that all the patrons give me, and as well as this community. I've been getting amazing feedback as of late with the videos, as well as the content that's coming up on a daily basis. So in general, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for everything. I will see you in Atlantic City. I'm going to be playing something spicy. Maybe one of the decks that I showed here. Probably one of the decks I showed here because I've been playing with them a lot. But in general, thank you guys all again so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Okay, bye!